everyone, how's it going? As you can see, the old Ranger camper is behind me, and we are to the point where it is campable now. We are not finished, but we did get it to the point where it's campable. So we're going to jump on to what I'm considering part 2 of that. It's kind of a boring episode, and I just ran tape the whole time that we were kind of working on this thing. So I don't do intros and outros, it just jumps in. So we're going to jump right in on it with the fiberglass, and we'll have a couple more videos on this, and then we are back on old Pickle the Bus. So here's the fiberglassing and the cutting out of the frame of the 1954 Ranger pop-up. Sometimes you have to make it worse before you make it better. This piece up here is a mess. All the pieces were overlapped and underlapped the wrong way, if that makes sense. So get a piece here. So instead of having this piece behind everything like it should be, this was outside of it, and it was just wood filler puttied over. I'm pretty sure they use wood filler. It is definitely not a fiberglass product. It's not anything you're supposed to use on fiberglass because it just bubbles up. And I've been using an angle grinder instead of a sander just because sander didn't even touch it. If I was using a sander on it, I'd be here till this time next year. Just trying to get these two front panels down. But it acts like wood filler. It kind of smells like wood filler does. I can smell some things again, and it's not fiberglass material because it's, you know, just bubbles up and flakes off. It's definitely not Bondo. Sanded enough of that to know, but I think I used wood filler. But you can see here how these panels, like, they didn't line them up and then they just puttied over it. It's never going to work. It's not going to be strong, for one. And there's cracks all the way up into the tank. Just little fissure surface cracks. So we'll have to address those and repair those. Same thing on this side. And this one's really been hit hard because it straight's all the way over. That was a pretty good blow. And the thing that amazes me about that, did you not hear it crunching? Like, stop. When you hear a crunch, stop. Because it's from jackknifing the trailer. So we'll get it all prepped because I don't want to be sanding while I'm glassing. I want to be able to do multitask. So try and prep the whole side, this whole front side, for the first batch. And then obviously we'll have to do more sanding. But I did work on the tank a little bit. And like all over the tank, there's these spots. And when you get down to them, there were several right here. There's nothing under them. So I don't know why putty fill something that doesn't have an issue. Just throw a coat of, resin over it if that's what you want to do. But yeah. So I will probably start with this side here. This piece, I'll have to clamp a board under there because it's flexing the whole side. And once we get that strong, I'll probably start down here because this is also pooched out quite a bit where it should not be. And when you push back in, this kind of, you can't see it, but this dips in. So when I push here, that makes that piece pop out, which is what we want. So it's going to be a bit on this front. I'd like to have it done in the next couple days so we can start building it back together. This is what we're dealing with here. Oh, that has to come off. Well, I've been at it for most of the day, and this is what I've ended up with. It actually looks better just with it ground down. So hopefully, we're making progress. That's a little better. Can't see out of my glasses though. Whew. Crazy. So much filler in this thing. Is it really necessary to put an entire can in these two little front holes? Guess so. But I did, let me flip the camera around here. I did go ahead and just cut that piece out. And I've gone around and started kind of cleaning up the edges so that they're not super sharp. So then we go to kind of piece that back in there. It'll hopefully go in pretty easily. I kind of want a little bit of a gap around so that we can actually fit it back in there. So hopefully I've got that trimmed back enough. I need to do a little bit more right here. I went ahead and took out, there was a little tiny piece there. I went ahead and took it out. So you clean that little area up. And then those pieces are pretty much ready to go back in. You know, the angle grinder doesn't do a half bad job. It's pretty smooth. I'm surprised. I mean, you can see marks just where the angle grinder has hit, but I really can't feel them. So hit it with a sander, also with a high grit, or sorry, a low grit sandpaper, and hopefully we'll be able to smooth that out pretty well just by hitting it with a sander. I'm probably going to try to work this side like that other one where I push in at the bottom, and that'll make this top piece kind of pop back out. And I don't know how I'm going to do that with ratchet straps or how I'm going to tie that back until the epoxy sits, or the resin sits on the fiberglassing, but we'll come up with something. Wedge a board back there maybe. I've still got this piece of wood in here, so I could maybe wedge a board back there. We're leaving these in until the new ones are made. Aaron went down to the tool library in Bloomington, Burl and Ingot tool library, and ran them through the planer. So you can use any tool you want to use in there. They've got welders and everything in there. It's kind of a cool thing. For 20 bucks as a one-day pass. So if you don't want to buy, in our case, a wood plane, he just went in and used that. So he has them planed down, just need to cut them. But we don't want to remove any of these because they are structural support until we have the new ones ready to drop in. And while I'm making such a big mess, it doesn't really make sense to put the new ones in right now. Once I get kind of some of this heavier duty sanding done. And then I've worked a little bit on the side. So while I'm using the using the battery powered angle grinder, this thing has been a beast. I use this thing every day and I just beat it to death. And the balance is perfect on this thing. This is a perfect tool. I don't know who designed it, but someone who used the angle grinder regularly. But I've only got 3 of these bigger batteries. So in the off time and the downtime while my batteries are charging, and I don't want to use an electric one because that one I have so much better control going into the fiberglass with it. But in my spare time, I've been kind of working on this side just with a hand sander, and it's looking pretty good. It's actually in this section of the fiberglass is actually in really good shape. Not seeing any fissures at all along the way, so I think this side's going to be really good. And the other side, I think, it's in similar condition. So, and these fender areas are really good too. There's a little bit of porosity going on right here. So we'll just make sure we fill that so that when it's painted, it doesn't show. We use a fiberglass repair putty on that. I don't know. I might resin over it. We'll see. We'll see how far down I want to go. But like I said, I've done quite a bit of fiberglass work. I'm a sailor, so fiberglassing and sailing kind of go together. If you are going to sail any boats that you're going to be a little rough on, you're going to have to repair them. I busted a hole completely through one and had to repair it one time. Completely through the hole. So I've had my practice. I guess we'll find out if that's going to stay tied down or not. Tornado sirens just went off. Yeah, I don't know about it. It was moving pretty good just a few minutes ago. Yeah. We hadn't had too much wind. I was out just working even though it was raining, and then the wind picked up and the sirens went off, so I guess I'll go inside. The good news is it washed off all the stuff I had just ground down, so that's good. Everything should be getting wet in there now. Haha, good times. Now we're getting hail. don't know if you can hear it or see it, but I'm laughing here because every time we went to work on this trailer, it stormed and stormed badly. We had 4 hailstorms in the 6 weeks that we worked on this thing. And you can see it on top of the 4Runner. Maybe. Nope. Man! Wasn't expecting that. Oh yeah, now it's coming in here. I'm gonna have to shut this garage door so I don't get these boards for the trailer out. There's a piece right there. It's a pretty good size. And literally like a few seconds later, blue skies. Not so blue skies. It was short-lived. The fiberglass, I ended up not keeping the pieces. I kept them, but I ended up not planning to use the pieces we cut out of here. They are so packed full of errors that it just doesn't make sense to reuse them. And then I just am gonna mock this one up, and we're gonna start up here because this is the weakest point. It's actually split all the way on the back side. But these are the pieces that were over there, and it's not gonna show up real well in camera. But there are so many twists and turns in this thing. There, you might be able to see it there, where it's not on the same plane. Let me see if I can lay it. So it kind of goes roll up and twist up right there at the end. So, and you can see they've gone in and patched. Somebody did, and the patch isn't even straight. Like it raises up. So I don't think I'm gonna use these. I've got them sanded and prepped and ready to go back in, but I don't think I'm gonna use them. And then this one's the same way. It's not straight. I don't know if it's showing up on camera or not, but it just, it curves this way, and then it has a twist to it. So I don't know, I'm really torn. I don't think whoever did this trailer before us really realized what they were getting into when they decided to tackle it, but I think we're just gonna start fresh. And this is the side that has to be fixed first because this up here pops out. Or pops in, I guess I should say. So I'm getting ready to do this one right now. I'm gonna take the air hose and clean it out and take some acetone and clean it off. I'm gonna start on the outside and then go ahead and do the inside because the way I have to put my clamp, it's gonna be in the way over here. I had it mocked up earlier, took it down. But yeah, I mean, basically get these 2 holes patched, the 2 big holes patched, and get that section of frame back together, and we're ready to start building it back together. So our setup time is going to be significantly reduced just because it's warmer out. About 70 degrees is about perfect, but we don't have 70 degrees today. It's probably closer to, I don't know what it is out. Yeah, it's been about an hour, and it feels pretty good. It's a little tacky on the areas where it was just a little bit thicker, like right there. But it looks pretty good. I can see a little bit of a raised portion, but it looks pretty good. I went ahead and slapped a little bit of fiberglass down on this too, because I know we're gonna have to keep building that up just a little bit where the seam on the tank is. And then there was a hole right there I went ahead and filled in. Focus. Went ahead and filled in with a little piece and went over it. I did go ahead and do the back, just a small strip here on the back. Focus. Come on. So it is a little bit tacky still. It's only been on there for about 30 minutes, but it looks pretty good. It's hardening. It seems to be hardening well. Went ahead and laid a little bit of bead down into that crack that was there where the halves were kind of separating. I think it's going to be okay. Some sanding. Obviously when I pull this off, we're going to have a little bit of a spot there to sand, but that's okay, because it's going to get more layers over it. Yeah, looking pretty good. Yeah, just another couple hundred times of that and we'll have it made in the shade. The frame is really, really bad all the way to the back. So the beam that comes across the back, so I'm thinking about just taking it to the T. And so a friend of mine owns a metal shop in Indianapolis, Warner Steel. And I'm just gonna take it up there and have them hit it on the press brake and just break that back section for me so that we can, it's like a Z channel. Let me take the camera back there, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And I called him and asked if he could just kind of buy this ready-made, and you really can't. Where I cut, it's still pretty good. I'm just gonna cut that section up and take it up to them and see if they can make it for me. And if not, I'll just square tube it, rectangle tube it. But it, back here, I mean, it's really thin right here. You can see it's, if you hit it with a hammer, it just kind of deforms. And so I know that this piece that's laying down here, that's glassed in, is gonna do the same thing. It's gonna be all rotted. So this section had to come out anyway. It just makes sense to go up there to the T. Plus I'm gonna modify some of this stuff over here. And this is pretty bad. Where I'm gonna come off, you can see there's a hole there. Well, maybe you can. Right here's a hole. And I wanna bring a piece of angle over and kind of box in a little area to make that a little bit stronger. We could haul quite a bit back in here. Even when the bed's pushed in, you could store things inside that back bed. So there wasn't really a lot of tension on that frame because it didn't pop and carry on. So I'll go get the plasma cutter and we'll cut that section out. It's kind of hard to get in there with that wheel up against. I can't get as close as I want to get. So I'll go get a plasma cutter, we'll cut that section out, and then we're going to take that up to him, see if he can make me just a 10-foot piece where I can piece it back in right there. And then we will be ready to kind of start building the inside. Let's see if we can have that made. If not, we might be in trouble because I just cut it out. We can weld it back in if we have to, right? So this is the section of the frame I cut out, and this is the top piece of it, and then that's the bottom, and see how thin it's getting. And this is the good section. So this is a piece of it that I would have probably left if I hadn't had to replace the back piece. And that's just that section right there. So, you know, if that's the quote good section, we know this piece here is a lot worse. But I did call Warner Steel up in Indy, and they are gonna hook me up. They quoted me a price that was super reasonable. We're gonna go up and have them make that piece for us, which is kind of nice to be able to do that. So then we'll be pretty much all fresh new steel. I've inspected everything that's up. The rest of the trailer is in really good shape. The metal's all fine. The only place I may have to replace is that piece of angle up front, but it's pretty thick. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be completely rotted through. It's like 1/4 inch probably. So I think it's going to be fine. And these up here aren't bad at all. This little surface rust on them. Actually, one of them right there still has original paint where they painted it underneath the floorboard. So I think the rest of it's going to be fine. It's just back here, it just took on so much water, and the water just kind of laid because it was where the bed slides in, that little trundle bed, and the water just laid right there. Plus, I think because it was wood floors, anytime it was driven in the rain, it would flip up and get this section back here all wet. So that kind of cooked its goose too. We are going to do the wheel wells exactly like they were, but I'm going to make a couple of changes up here. I'll show you. Where that torsion axle suspension was broken and the wheels had kind of collapsed into the wheel well, it had worn both wheel wells, and you can really see it on that one. Right under my plasma cutter. See where it's arched up right there? I'll just hop in here and show you. See where the tires cut in to that flooring? And it did the same thing on this side over here. And then on the bottom, we will not just leave exposed wood. It's going to be like a shower board. We've used it on trailers before and it works out really well. So it's like a white shower board. And it is, in fairness, it will add a little weight, and me adding those pieces of angle and whatnot will add a little weight. But it's gonna really make the trailer that much better. And we just feel like it's something we need to do. So the floors initially were not completely coated in glass. The wood was not, because those floors were still in here. And if they were coated in glass, all the glassing was gone at this point. So we're going to change it up a little bit. Hopefully make it a little bit better. I am going to build that angle iron frame off, and we're going to box this in with angle after I get these new pieces. That's another reason why I want to replace these, because I'm going to be building off of them, and I don't want to be building off of that. You know, that's just not good. We need to deal with that. But all this piece here is glassed in, this metal piece. So I will have to cut that out and redo all of that. I'm gonna get my my fiberglass hat back on. It's been a while since I've done fiberglass. I built a sidecar several years ago for my son, a bicycle sidecar. That was the last big fiberglass project I did. I haven't done it since. It's actually hanging right above us. It's all dirty, but it was the last big one I did. Big, you know what I mean. Larger than just a patch panel. And then all of these, when we put these boards in, I'm just going to reinforce. This glass is super strong. I'm just going to reinforce it with a couple layers, and then we're just going to screw into that. Still use it as a shelf, still use it as an anchor point, but rather than glass it, we're going to drill it. And the reason we are is because if anybody ever has to take this thing apart again, we don't want them to have to go through what we went through. And we're not planning on getting rid of this trailer. So if we have to do that again, rip anything out again, we don't want to have to rip out fiberglassing, because that just makes life that much harder. Let's see if we can get our grips off of here. not too bad. That should sand out pretty nice. Came off fairly easy. Looks like it repaired well. And this one I know is going to have a little curlicue of fabric behind it because I couldn't get that smashed down. We'll have to sand that down. But yeah, that turned out pretty nice. Happy with that. I'm going to leave these on here just a little bit longer because this part kind of does matter. So we'll let that one sit a little bit longer and we'll pop it off and see what it looks like. Oh, it's the next day. I'm going to pop this brace off of here and see what we've got. See if it, whoa, if our wax paper did its job. Actually, that one came off really easily. It just stuck right up there on the top. There's a little bit of a ridge there, but it's not too bad. I'll be able to get that one sanded down pretty easily. That didn't even stick at all. Now this one stuck a little bit back here on the back. Not bad though. It dripped down on the inside. That's what got that one. So we'll go through. This feels pretty good now. I've still got just a little bit of a sag. It's kicking back just a little bit. But I think once we pull it forward with up here, we'll be in pretty good shape. I got to do the same thing on a repair right here that I did up here. Kind of clean in the crack of it, and then we'll have to brace it. Actually, that right there pretty much fixes this. So I'll grind down in there, we'll patch that up. The humidity's really high today, so this stuff isn't gonna set up like it should. So I'll probably mix it just a little bit on the heavier on the hardener side. But yeah, so we'll do that same trick that we did up there down here, get this side going, and then we'll jump over on the other side.